What's something no one tells you about? Don't put it in your butt if it doesn't have a base. The amount of things my boyfriend emergency physician pulls out of men's butts is incredible. Pool balls, eggplants, and various vegetables, etc. It amazes me that in this day and age where you can literally buy toys off Amazon and have them arrive the next day, people are still going to hospital claiming they fell on dangerous stuff like light bulbs and bottles. Like, guys, you can buy a set of butt plugs of various shapes and sizes to play with at your leisure and never have to explain why you needed to make that trip to hospital and then had to sit on a donut cushion for 6 weeks. It's a win-win. One time I put a little vibrator about the size of a thumb in my butt. I luckily put it in a condom, but the horror I felt when it just slipped all the way in. I was panicking for about 10 minutes, and this vibrator just kept going. I was squatting in my room just a pushing and pulling at the condom. It was so elastic, I thought it was going to break. It slipped a couple times and smacked my hole like a rubber band. At that point I didn't care if I the floor. Ain't no way I was walking out of my room past a couple roommates with my hole buzzed in and 3/4 of a condom hanging out of my. I eventually got it out. And yeah, I did finish, but only because I didn't want blue balls. That vibrator did not stop feeling good just because it wasn't cooperating with my plans. Task failed successfully. I'm scared to put anything in my butthole because I'm afraid I'm going to like it, and I don't know how to feel about that. Your body has all kinds of sensations that fulfill a basic survival purpose that you use for pleasure anyway. You need eyes, mouth, ears, and nose to find food, water, shelter. But you'll also seek out things that look, taste, hear, and smell good just for the pleasure of it. You sometimes need to scratch off some dirt or an insect stinger or callus or something, but you can lightly scratch yourself because it feels good, or lightly stroke your arm, rub your hands together, crack your knuckles, give yourself a little hug, etc., etc. All kinds of what's called self-soothing behavior. Nothing wrong with it. You need to do cardio to catch or escape animals, but you can also exercise for the fun of feeling adrenaline. It's still healthy and good for you, and is usually harmless. You need to do in order to make babies, but you can do it or simulate it just for fun, and that's fine. All these things, we do not just for ourselves, but this constitutes most of our interactions with others. We make the good food, the music, sport, love language, to reach out and touch people. And it's good. The butt is no different. Not different at all. Relax. The fear about it is taught and manufactured. Be careful if she says pound her hard. I bruised my testicles in a very unfortunate accident. I have fractured my twice. Once it was a weird angle, a very rut vagina, and her pelvis went down and I heard a pop. It was bruised for like 2 weeks, just a giant bruise on my. The second time was from very rough. She wanted it harder, and I gave I to her and my pop, and was painful and bruised for a few weeks. It actually changed the shape of it, which helped me. It has a bump on it that hits the clip of my wife perfectly. She loves, so be careful or you'll break it, and it's very painful. You may or may not have to fart the entire time. So funny story. Was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were having missionary with her legs hooked on my arms, pretty standard, and not particularly fast or anything. Anyway, after what was a slightly harder than usual thrust, she farted. And OMG, the force was strong enough, and the position just right that I felt my balls actually blow backward. She looked embarrassed at first, but then we both started busting up laughing, and I told her it was okay. Cum continues to leak out of you for an extended period of time. I guess I thought it just absorbed or something. When I was in my 20s, one of my best friends and boss was a lesbian. She always had been. There was no confusion or coming out for her, so she had no experience with males at all. Anyway, we used to talk about a lot. I'm not sure how it came up, but I once mentioned the cleanup and leaking my girlfriend had to deal with after, and it absolutely blew her mind. She was like, "Why would anyone have with you animals?" She was hysterical. She moved away, and we lost touch. I miss her. Your cat will watch from across the room. I used to kick them out of the room, and they would just cry and scratch. So then I would let them stay but move them off the bed and put them on a chair, but they would cry and then just jump on the bed. Then I just let them stay on the bed and just stay out of their way. They would sleep through it while me and my partner did it, or if they woke up, they really did not give two fucks. Cats don't care about your lives. They care about their comfy spots and sleep. There are smells and sounds you will not be prepared for. One of my early girlfriends made a comment about coming home from school one day and finding her parents barking like sick dogs in the spare bedroom, only to realize they weren't making dog sounds really at all. It was rough trying to hold in my laughter because she actually made an injured poodle noise when I was really pushing her buttons right in the sack. I'm 20 and she's my second girl I've had a Yule relationship with. I was with more, but no. I thought we were together. We never talked about what we are. I just assumed she's my girlfriend. And I was at a rave, introduced her to my friend, and said that's my girlfriend. And she said in front of him that she's not, we are not together. All of that in my birthday. Embarrassing AF. I don't care if we are not together. Per se, I also like a friends with benefits relationship. But you just don't do that to embarrass your partner like that. It set me off. Before her I was getting hard easily, but she's kinda toxic. Like on the day of my birthday, I couldn't get hard when we got to the bed, and she blamed me for it, got upset, and then the same night that happened in the rave, like she said we're not together. She's hypocritical with her Instagram stories. I can't explain it, but she's posting stuff about relationships, and it's the exact opposite of how she's behaving with me. Anyway, I haven't texted her in a week, and since we are not together, I can f*** around with other girls with not feeling bad, I guess. Also, she had her birthday 1 week after mine, and on my birthday we were the whole weekend together. She got me a gift. And then when her birthday came, she didn't want to go to a rave party together like we were on the same rave anyway, but she told me she wants to be alone with her friends, so that's what I did. I didn't bother her, saw her, didn't speak to her, not even said happy birthday. I don't care anymore. I can find better ones that respect me, period. Was in a threesome with my buddy and his girl, and we both tagged out twice before it concluded. All three of us were just one big sweaty steamy mess. And so much hair everywhere, cause we all have long hair. The best aftercare session ever though, gave them both a full body massage afterwards, and then his girl cuddled me all night. Next day, me and her got busy first thing in the morning, and he woke up and said something like I passed out during the massage. Have you been going all night? Don't talk to them anymore, but we had some good times. I've only had kind of bad a couple times. It was more fun than no. The first time was a grouchy hairy lesbian with lactating mom boobs and a bit of baby weight left over. That was pretty one-sided. I got her off a bunch and then got myself off in her. But there was nearly nothing mutual about it. She was blown away by the experience, claimed she had leapt into being a lesbian way too soon, and talked me into staying the night, sleeping over. Between the bad, her morning personality, I definitely rated the experience at the bottom. There was also some drunk with random women that wasn't very thrilling, but they didn't keep calling me for a week trying to start a relationship, which was nice. Kai was going out with dating. It was complicated. An absolutely gorgeous woman for a while. One of the best looking human specimens I have ever seen in person. Miss Universe candidate level beautiful. Quite literally. A close relative of hers was in the Italian selections. Well, after months of just kissing and the occasional foreplay, we finally got to the deed, and it was so bland. It was like all the chemistry we had somehow vanished. It was like opening the cookie box and finding sewing tools, but 10 times worse. I did not think it possible given how good had been with my ex-girlfriend, which was cute, but let me say, average cute rather than bombshell. Actors would date cute. The lesson I learned is enthusiasm trumps looks every single time. A partner that really, primally wants you is way more attractive in the moment than any supermodel that's just there for the ride. Bring a towel, it'll come in handy. My wife and I were on our way to stay in a B&B in upstate NY for a few nights back in 2016. As we were driving, we realized we didn't pack a towel. So we stopped at a Dollar General and bought a small thin cheap yellow bath towel. Since that time, our yellow towel has become our towel. We take it everywhere on cruises, camping trips, vacations, etc. Anytime we're away from home, our yellow towel goes with us. It's become an inside and running joke with us. Whenever we're packing for a trip, My wife or I will usually quip something along the lines of, "Honey, don't forget to pack the yellow towel." Times when she's asked me to get the suitcase from the attic, I'll bring it down and then quickly sneak the yellow towel inside it so that when she opens the suitcase to start packing, that's the first thing she sees inside it. If I walk in my bedroom and the yellow towel is on our bed, you guessed it, the kids are away, and we're having fun tonight. My wife and I have even joked that whichever one of us dies first, our yellow towel will be folded and placed inside the casket before the viewing at the funeral home. We agree that no context is to be given, and that guests will only be able to speculate on the reason and purpose of our yellow towel. I had a blow-my-mind moment when my lips touched and I found out it was warm, like literally almost hot. I never thought about it and never saw this mentioned anywhere. What startles me is how many different forms one can have. Like there's hard, where it's almost dangerous, hard and happy, regular old hard, soft boy, and just hanging out. It changes the game with giving blowjobs. To add to that, my aunt once told me that she loved the feeling of warm nut all over her hole like a glazed donut. LOL, I'll never f***ing forget she told me that. That day, I never could look at her the same after I knew she was a freak. I forgot the surroundings. I'm pretty sure we was just standing in the hallway. I was teenager and don't know how it even came up in conversation, but I swear to God, till this day, I think about it every time I see her. I know nasty things happen in her house. LOL, f***ing hate having that thought of her in my head, but me and my family are quite open and honest to each other about nearly everything. I had to go to court recently, and the district attorney is a good-looking woman, charismatic, and seemed to have great personality. Her and my attorney seemed to know each other really well. Their banter was really laid back and flirty. After my cases got dropped, I was walking out with my attorney, and he told me that she is a promiscuous woman who has had relationships with a lot of the co-workers at the courthouse. Lawyers, sheriff's officers, court employees. Had me thinking like, damn, you never know what people in positions of power or people you think wouldn't ever do because of their public persona are doing after hours. It's not always some kind of passion-filled thing like the movies. Sometimes it's just a really wholesome, fun thing with a person you're close with, and you two have some laughs during it. I was engaged for 4 years, lived with the guy for most of it. We had tons of times, and I was a feisty teen if you know what I'm saying. But at 22, after my engagement ended, I moved in with my sister and her husband, and I heard them going at it one night, but they were laughing and having a merry old time, and I was so confused. I was far from a virgin and definitely several partners, and I had never had fun during. I asked some friends, and they all said it was like the best when that happened. Never in my life. Then I met my current fiance. Truly a good word of advice. Turned out pretty much every Yule relationship I ever had was pretty dysfunctional. The funniest experience I ever had was in college with my girlfriend. We were having an active afternoon. We started our 4th round and were having a great time when suddenly Mr. Willie decided he'd had enough for the day. In a startling fast maneuver, he went from rock to ragged in a matter of seconds. Feeling like I'd proved my manhood sufficiently, I was okay with it. And my girlfriend was cool with it too. Now, back in the 80s there was a brand of rubbers called Mentor. It was distinctive in that it had adhesive on the inside to tighten its grip on your junk. It was the best condom ever made. So I had a Mentor on my mentee, and it needed to come off. Unfortunately, we apparently want designed to come off a floppy. There we were in bed trying to get the damn thing off, but it was stuck like glue. Finally, my girlfriend got some butter. I'll never forget standing there with a stuck-on rubber hanging down from while my girlfriend carefully buttered it off a little bit of a time. I can't even describe the relief of getting my back. My brother liked to torment me when I was a child. And among many other wrong pieces of information he told me to mess with me. He told me that a woman's vagina is up top, like where the main body of the bush is above her clit. And that mine was deformed, and because of the angle of the deformity, I would never be able to have because mine was pointed up, well, like a normal. But I didn't know that, so from about 6 until 11 he genuinely had me convinced I would never have because it would be physically impossible for me to get inside a woman. There was a lot of abuse going on in that time period. And around 11 is when I really started to realize what was happening was not normal, and that my brother was not a trustworthy source of information. So I started to question everything he had me believe growing up, and right around that time is when I was allowed to start periodically using the internet by my parents. And one day I Googled it. It wasn't the things related to that really had a long-term impact on me, as thankfully while there was a lot of physical and emotional, mental abuse going on, none of it was Yule abuse, more just beatings, being tied down and cut with knives, that kind of thing. The things that really left an impact on me were the things he managed to convince me of in relation to my place in the family. My biological was abusive as hell towards me in particular. Just typical drunk dad abuse, beatings and name-calling, but far less severe than anything my brother was doing. And my brother convinced me that the reason my dad hated me was because I was the product of rape, failed abortion, and a broken condom, while simultaneously being the bastard of my mom's best friend's husband as well. So growing up I had this permanent feeling of not belonging or being loved, and that's carried over to my adult life. I have never felt at home anywhere I've ever lived. And it's hard for me to accept that my fiancé actually loves me and wants me around. I always feel like I'm just being put up with and no one wants me there. And to her credit, my fiancé has been an absolute saint when it comes to positively reassuring me she doesn't feel that way, and also understanding why I do feel that way despite her best efforts. She's also very cautious not to set off any of my triggers, for lack of a better word, when it comes to physical interactions. Like for example, my brother used to sneak up on me in bed at night and jump on top of me and cover my mouth and either hold a knife to my throat and describe how he was going to kill me in vivid detail or choke me unconscious with a dog chain. So my fiancé is very cautious to make sure she doesn't ever touch me in a way that would make me feel as though someone's getting on top of me while I'm asleep, so I don't wake up punching and fighting. Unfortunately, she learned that lesson the hard way, which I still feel bad about. She decided one night it would be fun to get on top of me and wake me up too. But instead she caught a haymaker of a right hook to the side of the head. I still feel horrible about that, but she's been amazing in understanding things like that. How much emotions play into how good the is. It's not all about having the best technique or highest level of effort. You're going to have better with someone you really feel for with half the effort than someone you just met. If someone hasn't had, but is approaching it, you can compare it to kissing. Kissing an object is just. Kissing the right person is effing magic. Is the same, but starts out already fun. But be careful because that kind of fun usually brings emotional bonding, which means any failure of trust between them will probably hurt. Leaves a scent in the room. You and your partner can smell it because it's yours, but other people can't. Also, when I first guided my boyfriend's hands to my vagina, it was like lower, lower. There it is, and he goes, no way. I didn't know it was that low. It's almost behind. I thought it was in the front or something. It's amazing to think a lot of guys get surprised by how low the entrance actually is. Another thing, how tiny the vagina hole actually is. It's a thing that remains completely closed if you don't put anything in it. It's not open. Yes, it's possible to stick it in that hole. Yes, it's gonna fit. That's what it's for. No, you're not going to break it. Shower is really overrated. Shower foreplay, on the other hand. Always keep a package of wipes, baby wipes, wet ones, whatever, tucked away in the nightstand. You'll need them. With a condom, smells not great. There's going to be emotional complications for one or both people. Is almost always a lot better when it's with someone you know and trust. As the guy finishes, he's going to reach a point where his equipment becomes incredibly sensitive and no longer in a fun way. Don't freak out if you're stroking him off or using your mouth and he finishes and all of a sudden can barely stand to have you touching it. It's totally normal. It doesn't hurt so much as it's just really sensitive. My girlfriend struggles to come quite often, as well as not being very sensitive. She also takes prescription drugs that make it even harder for her. Even pleasuring herself, it takes her more effort than she has sometimes. Head does work, but only a lot of it. Letting her whip out her toys during elevates the experience for both of us significantly. Not only can she come using toys, but she enjoys the toys infinitely more, coupled with she loves finishing with me inside, and I love it too. It's actually probably become my favorite part of our coming from the lady's side. When he comes in your mouth, it's warm, which I never even thought about. I almost puked the first time, and he laughed so hard he was crying. We have a good relationship. I thought it was funny much later. Your first time isn't actually supposed to hurt. And same with the times after. I saw a gynecologist because it wouldn't stop hurting, and she informed me even the first time really shouldn't hurt with enough foreplay and lube. Stretching before helps a lot if you've been tense all week. It's a lot of fun with the right person, and honestly it's okay to crack a joke, laugh, etc. And don't ever be afraid to communicate what you like or don't like. If your partner respects you or is even good in bed, they'll listen to what you like. I've found being good in bed sometimes just really relies on if that person listens when you vocalize what you like. You have got to fucking communicate. Do not expect people to just magically know what you like. You have to tell them that something isn't working for you. You should also let them know if something is working for you. If you do nothing to tell them what's working or not working for you, and especially if they also check in with you, and you still refuse to tell them, and the is bad, then it is 100% your fault that it was bad. The easiest way to be complete crap at is to not communicate. No one is a mind reader, and there's not really a one-size-fits-all way to always be good at. Also, if someone refuses to communicate they are never going to communicate during a relationship. Save yourself the misery. Isn't fun by default. It's uncomfortable and weird and sweaty, and sometimes it doesn't work at all for all kinds of reasons like nervousness or stress. Especially the first few times are really bad compared to the later. There is a lot to learn about yourself and about your partner. Don't expect to be an expert, and don't let your ego fool you into assuming the other person enjoys it by default. Chances are you could be doing a better job if you start asking what they like and don't like. Is indeed a game of communication. Also, relax. Can be fun to the point of you two laughing your asses off. Don't take the weird sounds, clumsy talk, or random things you might say during too serious. On the other hand, is extremely personal and very much intimate. So be careful, respectful, and most importantly, make sure you both consent. To have great, you need to be able to communicate. Seriously. Dudes, she doesn't enjoy you just sticking it in and pumping until you're done. Nor does she enjoy being jackhammered. Yeah, I know y'all are used to faster being better. It's not. Foreplay is key, and the clit is your friend. Don't be afraid to stroke it. And ladies, he's not a mind reader. Robin Williams once said that God gave men a brain but only enough blood to run one of them. So please, take pity on him. He's running his brain through his lower head, and it's at half capacity. Just tell him what you need. No need to be coy or shy. If it feels good, say something, and if it doesn't, guide him towards what does. And above all, if your partner doesn't want to listen, communicate, and make you just as good as they do during the act. They aren't worth another lay. Selfish partners aren't worth it. Condom fit and size most definitely does matter. Get yourself or your partner measured if they're uncomfy, and you may be surprised to find that they need a much wider size. Current partner couldn't get anywhere with condoms. Measured him. Turned out most are choking his way too much. Ordered some larger ones. Durex XXL are okay, but missize condoms are literally to size, and don't seem irritating to my sensitive skin. Now he actually can enjoy with them, and they don't break all the time. It's really the girth that gets you, especially if they are significantly wider around the base. Here's a moment. The moment when you first move inside your partner, where something primal rises up in you, expanding, unfurling. It's like a hidden part of yourself that you didn't know existed until that moment. And when it happens, it feels like two perfect puzzle pieces slotting together, like you're made for each other. The most natural thing in the world. It takes you, your body rushes with a feeling of, I don't know exactly. It's like a deep, deep desire. Deeper than intelligence. Deeper than reason. An animal-like thing. It's raw sensation. A lava-like flow of heat and pleasure that spreads out from your center and sets your lungs on fire. You don't learn about this side of yourself until you're intimate with someone else.